to all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom, and in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines. Selah. Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly on your own terms. Really thank you for subscribing to this channel. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks to all the feedback that I'm getting so far. We've decided to dive much deeper spiritually here, because when I started my the Dr. Mumbi show, I was like an evangelical, prophetic, Bible thumping Christian, but I've had to go deeper with my faith just because of circumstances, just because of the kind of things I encountered, and literally, beloveds, to save my life, because it reached a point where fasting and praying wasn't going to do it, and wasn't going to keep the enemy of my soul from manipulating me. And my teacher told me recently, if the Bible was real and if God was real, the way the Mzungu brought it to Africa, do you really think he would have just shared those powers with us? And there's a lot. That's why you have to go deeper than any religion. And that's why I call it a religious psychosis. But one of the things that people are totally in disagreement with me on is the fact that you chose your parents. And you chose the circumstances you were going to come in. Because you see, the woman's womb is a portal. And us women carry seeds. We don't carry eggs, beloveds. Eggs are for the non-humans, We are like plants. We carry seeds in us. And in order to penetrate this realm, there are certain stargates you can come through, blah, blah, blah. But primarily, it's through the womb of a woman. And the womb of a woman, it's very deep, the specific time we come in, et cetera, because there are all kinds of factors that influence us when we come in during a certain period or time. That's where astrology came from. And remember, we are the ancient astrologers. We are the ancient astronomers. Even the Queen of Sheba was like a mighty, she was the highest level astrologer and astronomer of her time. And a lot of the queens of that time were the highest in this kind of stuff. But anyway, those are stories for other days. So we have to recognize, the woman's womb is a gateway. And, many of us have been here several times, and you see, this is why it's hard. If you're still on the religious psychosis that this is your first life and your only life, and we only have this one life, and when we die we go to heaven and hell, then that like frame of thought, that limited frame of thought, is not going to fit in with the reality of things. The reality of things is we have been here several times as spiritual beings having a human experience. Because what usually happens in this realm is that at first many souls will come and reincarnate here, or incarnate here, come into this experience in order to kind of see what it's like being human, being third, this dense material, etc., and seeing how your thoughts get manifest, your reality, etc. But with the way that the world has been going, because many young souls come, and because they don't really, some are not taught the ways and means of the world, they create karma for themselves. So they'll come and they'll mash up someone, they may kill someone, they may, take someone's, harm someone in one way or another, psychologically, emotionally, physically, or they just may, just with this whole materialistically, etc. And that incurs a debt, which means that the next time they come, they now have to come in with the soul that incurred that debt, they incurred that debt to, in order to pay back that debt. Now, sometimes, if your soul is, murdered by someone or something like that, so your spiritual journey here, your assignment here is cut off, then you now, you get to reincarnate, and that person has to settle that debt to you, either by being, your servant, whatever, some way or another, they have to serve you in that lifetime. And sometimes this service can be for a lifetime, but most of the time, the karmic debt is cleared after a certain number of years. But what has happened with this narcissistic mashup system is many of us completed our karmic debts with our families, etc., but they had done so much juju and wizardry behind the scenes that we kind of stayed in these karmic debts beyond. We'd already paid and we just stayed in them. It's almost like Kenya, and Africa, the way we've paid off all the loans we ever got, but we're paying the interest on the loans, which shows you the wheel. But anyway, that's not the story. So that's how we get it. And then if you really think about us as a melanated people have been coming from our kingdoms, and I told you there are fire nations, there are water nations, and all these nations have gates here because they all somehow contributed to the creation of this realm and this experience through their minds, through their energy, etc. And so because we've been here for such a long time, you can imagine the kind of debts, etc., that we have incurred. Some call it karma, etc. And many of the ancient ones, because I know a lot of people who are being drawn to this channel are among the ancient ones. They're the chosen ones. They chose themselves. Many of us, we're here for a specific reason. We're here to help with the liberation of the planet and to kind of take us in a new direction. But many of us had not been here for a while. And so we'd accumulated, some debt. Some people owed us some things. We owed a few people some things. And we also had to trigger our own awakening, to enable us to come into our true power, because it's the world here is so dense that kind of, the radio system that you have to your spiritual guides, your spiritual team, it's almost like you feel like you're walking alone in the dark, and yet you have this entire team. And so it's only through trauma and pain that it kind of pushes you beyond the fear barrier, beyond the veil of illusion that many people still live into, and forces you to question. And so many of us did choose, the parents that we chose for various reasons. And that's why you need to go deeper and really ask, why did I choose these people? Why did I choose my wicked, father? Why did I choose my crazy mother? Why did these siblings come in with me? Like, what was that? Because there's nothing that's happening by accident. And the first thing you have to do, and it's even a matter of personal power, beloveds. Because someone wrote to me and said, no, I couldn't have chosen these wicked people to be my parents. God chose. I mean, do you think, even now when I hear such explanations, I'm just like, where do we even start with you? Let me just break it down to you. God did not choose your parents. You did. And you chose them for a specific reason. But that chapter is closed. And for many, it was the only way in. I'll get into that right after this.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Welcome back, beloveds, to the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? A big shout out to everyone who donates through PayPal and Patreon. We appreciate, love you so much. Go ahead and also check out our primary channel, Dr. Mumbi Show, where we basically share the awakening news. But here, we're going much, much, much deeper spiritually. For some, it will be uncomfortable, but I know this message isn't for everybody. And so if this triggers you and you feel like, offended, just, you don't even need to leave your pain in the comments. Just keep it moving, beloveds. Because the stage of convincing and debating is over. You either resonate and get it or you don't. And if you don't feel if you're not getting the vibes from me, then I'm really not the person that you should be tuning into at such a time as this, because all of us need to find our soul families. All of us need to find, our communities, our spiritual communities, because every contract that we had with our families is over. And for us to be able to protect ourselves, to build the communities that I've been talking about, to move forward and to create, the new kingdom and kind of even survive these years of tribulation, we really need to move beyond our materialistic family, which are many are obstacles, and move into, identifying our soul family and getting out of this, family psychosis as well. Because the way the dynamics of the family is, you're told, respect your elders, don't do this to your elders, don't do that to your elders. But there's also, in that same scriptures that you guys love to quote, there's also something about never make your child angry, because the wrath of a child can just mash you up. But you see, with everything that's been happening, beloveds, over the last couple of years, actually hundreds of years, with people's destinies being cut short, it's created a kind of bottleneck of souls who have not been able to clear their karma. And so their energy and their energy signature and their spirit is always kind of linked to what's happening on earth. And so a lot of people, especially now that everything is changing, on this planet, it's alive, beloveds, on Mama Earth, on our mothership. A lot of people now want to close it out because they weren't able to move on. So spiritually, it just created this thing. So more and more people want to come out and clear out their karma, kind of finish any contracts they may have on this planet with what they agreed to come here and to do, so that they can move out. And if you want to think about it, there's a very, I don't know if people are gonna get this, but let me just say it. There's a very long line to get into this realm. And many, many spiritual warriors, many spiritual soldiers, many who have been here before want to be here, because this is like the most epic shift of the ages, beloveds. This is the most, what is happening right now. And many years from now, it will make, what I'm saying right now will make sense to you, even if it doesn't now. There is something so amazing happening. And for many of us who are here for a reason, most of the work we're doing is in the spiritual realm. And that's why we have to connect back to our spiritual, the spiritual side of us, and just become aware of what's going on, because an epic battle has been fought, is being waged for the souls and minds of man. And with certain ancient ones, the skills they had accumulated, because here, you see what happens is when you come to earth and you have your experience, you can go through a spiritual whatever and become a Christed one. And if you manage to reach that highest level of evolution in one lifetime, you take that skill with you and you move on. You can come and become the highest level musician, in your life, in one lifetime. Let's say you come and you become a maestro, like a Beethoven, etc., etc. That skill becomes, those are the skills you come with. So there are many highly, highly evolved ancient ones that accumulated and acquired much knowledge, much skills, that is hidden, that is lying dormant in their Akashic records. And the only time we really have access to the skills we have of multiple lifetimes is when we're in danger. When we're in danger, people will say that a certain power came into them, or they could do something that they had never, they had strength that they could never believe they could. And there's all kinds of stories that you hear about, when mothers see their children in danger, they're able to do superhuman things. But, these are skills that we have. And the higher we get, what's happening now is we're going into a season and time when we are going to become so elevated spiritually that all the skills and talents that we accumulated in our lives will come online. And the reason this is important is because we had to be here at this specific time to do battle and to kind of, to shift the consciousness of the planet. And in order to do it, beloveds, many people had to, stand aside. But the thing is, the world had fallen so low in terms of the dark, the wickedness of people's thoughts, the wickedness of what was in people's hearts, people's intentions, and if the fact that we're in a human sacrificing world, and blood sacrificing, and vampiristic kind of tendencies, narcissistic system. We had to come in at this time. There are certain people that we had debts with, that we had to come, that we had to come in with. They got attached to our lifetime, etc., etc. We couldn't escape it, but we did it anyway because of the nature of the season and the urgency of the seasons and the times. And so many of you saw that you were going to be sexually abused by your uncle. This was going to happen to you, that was going to happen to you. But you chose to do it anyway because you saw that your spiritual team would be able to get you through, and you had to be here to survive. That's why I say, if you have survived till this point, the reason I'm even sharing this is because that chapter, not even the chapter, that book is done, beloveds. As Babylon falls, that storyline is no longer you. You have died and resurrected into a whole new timeline. And so you may have chosen them. You may have chosen those family members, and you're still traumatized by the experience. But your bloodline chose you, beloveds. Your bloodline chose you to be the one that breaks those chains, because I say hurt people. That's what someone said in the comments before. And broken people break people. And some of us were chosen not only as spiritual warriors on a global scale, but even to clean up our bloodline and say, the sacrificing of firstborn children stops with me. The narcissistic parents and the narcissistic mentality of crushing my children stops with me. The psychological abuse and depression stops with me. And so we've had to go through those experiences in order to, because you only overcome something when you move through it. To go to the other side and say, okay, I went through this, it's done, and to cancel those cords. And so you're here to bring victory to your bloodline. Maybe this is a bloodline you were attached to many, many, many generations ago that you have now cleaned up. Because the spirits that walked before you in this bloodline, your ancestors, some of your recent ancestors, just didn't have the acumen or the spiritual strength to do it, because they were dealing with some very difficult times. So you chose your parents and you chose your path, but you chose it because of many circumstances. If you want me to go deeper, let me know in the comments. I've kind of run out of time. Until next time, tuko pamoja.